BBC News.
Well, in our Washington studio is Benjamin Cole from the American Energy Alliance, which supports the US fracking program. Obviously, because you support it, I note you'll be proposing that it's a good idea, but there is a great concern in Britain about earthquakes and water pollution. Has any of that proven to be true in America, where you're much more forward in getting the energy out?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me on. And we are experiencing an energy revolution here in the United States, and I was excited to learn that the UK is going to move forward with this discovery. When it comes to water pollution, let me start there first. There has been not a single confirmed case of groundwater contamination in the United States through the 70-year history of hydraulic fracturing that we've had to harvest our own domestic energy resources, both oil and natural gas. And so the concerns about water pollution are grossly overstated, and every effort to try to demonstrate that there's been groundwater contamination has come up short, and the science that's been used by some of the regulators, federal regulators, our Environmental Protection Agency, they didn't follow their own scientific protocols when they first reported that they may have found an instance, and they had to actually reverse all course and pull back their study. About the issue of ground tremors. Ground tremors happen everywhere that there's drilling going on. That's nothing new with hydraulic fracturing. What you do have with the hydraulic fracturing technology is the need to take the fracking fluid that you've used to break up that shell rock formation and dispose of it. And so some of the tremors in the United States that have been tracked to the activity are in the disposal wells, where the hydraulic fracturing fluid is then put in a safe spot down under the earth to hold that fluid. But it's nothing that's caused, when people hear earthquakes, they get very scared and start thinking, Japan-sized earthquakes or what happens off our west coast in California. Well, nothing like that has happened. You don't see houses toppling or roads buckling. It's minor tremors that are felt by people that live in the area. And this happens whenever you're going to have a development of any kind.
And therefore, you would suggest this is a win-win find, as it were, for Britain.
Yeah, I think it is. At the end of the day, you're going to have lower energy prices. You're going to have energy security, producing your own resources there. And a lot of the folks that are going to be opposing this effort in the UK, I'd be very interested in understanding where the backing for that opposition is coming. Because, well, I found that, for instance, in some of the Western European countries that are looking at whether or not they would frack for their resources, there's been Russian funds that funnel in to stop that. Why is that? It's because Russia doesn't want Europe to be able to produce their own energy. They'd rather hold them by the throat, stranglehold them, and force them to have to purchase Russian natural gas. So some of the opposition, it's always interesting to trace where the money comes for supporting the propaganda against hydraulic fracturing that's happening all across the world.
All right, but I suppose in some small communities it's just the fear of what might happen. Some of the communities are to be offered about £100,000 and 1% of production revenues. But you think that actually perhaps there's no need to give them any compensation at all?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that at all. In fact, in the United States, we have private property rights. The individual citizens can own the minerals under their ground. And so whereas you're talking about 1% there in the UK, in the United States, people who own land where there's drilling going on can get sometimes upwards of 25% of royalties over the last time of the well because they own that mineral interest. So really, I don't think the issue is going to be buying off anybody. And I think that's sort of language that certainly the people that are going to be receiving the benefit and are not going to feel like they're bought off. It's not an issue of buying off, because really the energy resources under the ground there are held by all the British people. I mean, they belong to the public. And so if they're being drilled and used for public good, and the public good that affects and benefits everybody is lower energy prices, then I think that's the payoff in the end, is that for a long time out into the future, the UK is more energy secure. The UK is producing their own energy, and they're producing it at cheaper cost. And we've seen in the United States the lower natural gas is not just affecting utility rates and energy costs. We've seen how it's revitalized our manufacturing base. Jobs that have been going overseas for years are now coming back to the United States because of the low cost of energy, and we can recreate those jobs right here, and that's overall benefit for our economy.
One last one, Benjamin. Obviously, Britain is more densely populated than in America. Where you've conducted fracking near towns or cities, have there been any detrimental side effects?
Well, not that we've seen. I mean, and you mentioned the first two ones that often get thrown, the groundwater issue and the tremors. But really, if you look at the state of North Dakota, where there's a huge amount of fracking going on, the counties in North Dakota, some of them have 0% unemployment. There are people that are making $20 equivalent for jobs just as cashiers at grocery stores. The wages are going up. The standard of living is going up. They're able to put that money that they're getting from the royalties back into the city and the states. They're putting in new roads and new schools and public parks. It's a win-win for everybody there. And so if you go and venture into those areas, you'll find a narrow segment of the population who's complaining perhaps, but you're always going to have people complaining. And what you're finding most often is the people that are reaping the huge economic benefit. They're going back to work. They're producing low-cost energy. Their utility rates are coming down because of low-cost fuels. They're all together happy. We've gone out into those areas. We've talked to them face-to-face. Institute for Energy Research has put together some fascinating videos that tell the story of what's going on there. And it's absolutely an energy miracle. It is an industrial revolution happening all over again. And we learned how to be a part of the Industrial Revolution from Great Britain, and I think it's exciting that you might be able to learn from us how to harness these energy resources and revitalize your own economy like we are trying to do here.
All right. From the American Energy Alliance, Benjamin Cole, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mass cremations have been taking place in the Indian